What is up, internet world, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're bringing the Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV 580 4MATIC. Let's go! So let's start off with the name, EQS. EQ stands for electric for Mercedes-Benz and S for S-Class. But when I look at this, I don't see S-Class. And then to make it more confusing, this actually doesn't have a different name than the car. They have an EQS sedan and an EQS SUV. So if you walk into a dealer and say, hey, I'm looking for an EQS, they're gonna say sedan or SUV. And you'd be like, huh? So Mercedes is taking a page out of everybody else's book. They're creating a modular platform that this and the new EQE will be built on. They also realize that it's just the way to do things because that's what the Koreans are doing. And GM is also doing it with their Ultium platform. Basically one platform, shovel the batteries in, put a different body on top. That is the future. Now back to this EQS, there are three variants. The first one is a rear-wheel drive 450, then an all-wheel drive 450, and then this, the 580, the big boy. This thing makes a whack ton of power. And how much power is under this hood that actually can't open? Yep, this hood doesn't open. Ben says you can't open it, only for technicians. Now you'd like to know that no matter which trim level you get, the 450 or the 580, you get the exact same battery. It's a 108 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack. And the base model makes 355 horsepower and 419 pound-feet of torque. This thing has two electric motors. It makes 536 horsepower and 633 pound-feet of torque. Now they say it goes to 60 in about 4.7 seconds. And as far as range goes, you do about 430, 440. I got that actually. So I'm in the 2023 Mercedes-Benz EQS SUV. So the reason we're doing this at night is because the interior of this car is like no other we've ever had. We've had Benzes before, but because this has the whole 56-inch screen and ambient lighting that does all this thing with regen and recoup and braking and all this craziness, we had to show it to you at night. This car also has magic tricks. So when I put my hand on the passenger side, the light comes on. Like I'm trying to reach for my bag or something. It knows. There's a sensor there. That is so cool. So there are 5 different drive modes in the EQS SUV. We'll talk about the most unique one, and that is the off-road mode. That's where the air suspension raises up by about 8 inches to go off-roading in your EQS. I don't know who would spend $186,000 and then off-road it, maybe if you lived in Dubai. But here in Canada, the only mode we really try besides the normal mode is the sport mode. So if we go through the modes, the first one you have is off-road, you have eco, comfort, sport, and then individual. And when you shift, listen to this. That's eco, that's sport. Cool. Now I wanted to test this out with about 50% worth of battery range. Start warmth program. No thank you. Cancel. But I want to try it with 50% battery because battery ranges should really be between 40 and 60% to have optimal battery longevity. Now we all just shove it in and get 100%, but that's not the way batteries are designed to be operated at. Between 40 and 60% is the best way to keep your battery in basically good shape. So when you're in that mode, how much power do you actually have and how does it feel like on the street? So let's put it in sport like we are now and we'll pin it and listen to this magical sound. On the brakes. It's the most weird futuristic sound ever. Accelerate. On the brake. It sounds like there's a turbo wastegate as soon as I let go of the throttle. It's like, woo, and then push. So it does 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds, depending on how much weight there's in the car. Even though this thing weighs 6,200 pounds, it's still quick. Like, you get that instant pull-up, and everybody in the car is going to be like, wow, this is crazy. Especially when it's so smooth and quiet. It is an EQS after all, after S-Class. It's not as smooth as an S-Class, but it's very close. So Mercedes has something called energizing comfort, and they have different modes. This is called Vitality. And Vitality gives me red everywhere. It gives me massage, gives me the air, gives me fragrance if it was available at the moment. Voila. And I get this sound. And I got this 15 speaker Burmeister to enjoy it. It's relaxing me while I'm driving. Now with all these new Mercedes, the ambient lighting just gets better and better. If I raise the temperature in here on my side, see what happens. I'm making it warmer, the ambient light goes like this, and the red goes like this, like a snake. And if I try to make it colder, the other way around, it gets cold and goes like that. So another party trick that the ambient lighting has is when you go into the menu, there's one specific color, which is this blue and white pulsating thing that has a lightning bolt next to it. And when you pick that, when you accelerate, it shows the lighting, these little pulsating going this way. And then when I brake, it does the total opposite. The pulsating goes the other way. It becomes blue and it goes the other way. And then when I floor it, it becomes red because I'm sucking the battery, all the life out of this battery. Kind of cool, kind of unique. And if you don't want to play around with all that stuff, well, you can just use this fancy pillow, put your head back, and throw this thing in energizing mode or vitality, or basically relax, chill out, and enjoy your EQS SUV. So down here, there's a button called EQ, and that EQ button gives you certain things like charging, your range, and your consumption. So charging is when you can adjust how much power you want to put in the battery. You can go up to 80%, 50%, whatever you'd like, you can pick it right there. And it shows you how much power the car will actually absorb or basically intake. Next up is range, and range is kind of unique because they have 4 things in this specific case that is restricting or making our mileage worse. And you can shut them all off individually, or you can press the single button right in the center, and it's going to shut all those things off, including the ambient lighting, and including this screen, and everything in here that's going to drain power, it's getting rid of. And that's exactly what it's doing. It's completely black in here besides this driver's display that I have and the HVAC controls on the bottom, and it's on eco mode. It's really saving the battery in case you know that you're going to possibly run out. Now, I put an address in the navigation to get augmented reality to work on this screen, but I want to talk about the details or the information that pops up when you put that address in. In this specific case, we put Budweiser Gardens, which is a local arena for us, and it tells you the days they're open. It shows you some pictures about it, it gives you some Yelp reviews, it tells you it's open or closed. It also tells you the weather and the exact address, and you can share it with somebody. That's a lot of information on something that is not related to a Tesla. Generally, most OEMs would kind of suck. They'd give you information, but it was always dated. But these things now are so good that they're getting really, really tight to what Tesla offers. Augmented reality, let's go. Nice augmented reality. The screen's a little bit small for being augmented. Now it's kind of popping up. So the closer you go to it, the more the arrows come up. But the arrows don't sort of go like, how to explain it? It's just 5 arrows that stay there. It's not like the Escalade where the arrows kind of jolt you or look like a spear that keeps kind of moving, if that makes any sense. This is just sort of fixed. So augmented reality doesn't really pop up on my heads-up display. It just shows up over here, whereas the Escalade pops up on the screen. And the only reason I bring up the Escalade is because the price is very similar to an Escalade V. Similar power, different. One makes lots of noise, and this one makes lots of futuristic noises. So to the front, this looks pretty much the same as the EQS sedan. You've got this massive black panel. Again, there are no vents up there because this is electric. When you look at it closely, all these little stars are Mercedes-Benz logos or emblem style. And it's cool because from a distance you can't actually tell that. But when you come closer, you can see that it mellows all towards this center big emblem that you can't remove. It's just plated in the back. You have the center ring around it. So 2 prominent things. Obviously, the most impressive piece is this light bar that spans from end to end. It curves all the way around. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is these front bumpers. They whip out like some sort of AMG model. Now, the AMG model is not available on an SUV. It's only available on the EQS sedan. But when I look at this front bumper, I like how it has a wide mouth. It widens up the vehicle, and I like that touch. Now, they allow you to do one unique thing with the engine bay, but it's not done in the engine bay, it's done right here. There's a little button you can push, this opens up, and right there is where you put your washer fluid. So the crazy part is that Mercedes gives you 4 degrees standard. If you want to bump up to 10 degrees, you can actually buy it from the dealer, obviously when you order the car, or you can add it through Mercedes Me. Yeah, you can buy it as a subscription-based product. You can buy the fact that this thing goes an extra 6 degrees in turning the back wheels. So the EQS SUV is built in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and it weighs 6,200 and something pounds. That is so heavy, I was worried our tiles in our studio were gonna break. But what I'd be worried about is this right here, Mercedes-Benz. This is very, very minivanish. This is a massive mistake in my opinion. Now I know that what they're trying to do is they're trying to make this as aerodynamically perfect so it minimizes drag as much as possible. But this is like this look right here, this chrome piece right here. Leave the black. The black is cool. Get rid of this chrome. Maybe this is just the wrong color, but man, this is like a replacement minivan. If you feel me, comment below. So I quickly want to touch on these door handles on how they work. Now it's simply a pull, but if you look at it in slow motion, I actually have to do one of these, and then it unlocks the motor in there, and then I can pull out. So if you try to do this fast, it gets really annoying. Check this out. So I can feel it's like tuk tuk, tuk tuk, and it's just kind of a mental annoyance that it's not as quick as I would like it to be. See? Did you guys see that? Put that in slow motion, Ian. Because this is an S580 or EQS 580, this can tow 4,000 pounds, as I mentioned earlier. But just like the front, the back also has the light bar vibe, and they're cool. Like, this is a unique shape. I do like the fact that Benz is trying something different. They're unique, and I appreciate that they're taking a chance and doing this. The dollars spent, totally different story. Especially when you have the wiper right here. For this kind of price point, the wiper should be hidden underneath. Now, if you're looking at an EQS SUV, you'd like to know that you can get this in 3-row as well. As you can see, you've got 2 seats down there. Not all of them do have them. This specific one does. Now, the problem at this price point, which is the craziest thing ever, they're not powered. You actually have to go on the other side and do it. But here, I'm putting stuff in the back, and I'm like, hey, I want those seats up. Well, I can push these 2 seats, and then those 2 seats move forward. It actually makes a difference even on the passenger seat itself, it goes forward. So hey, they're thinking about those guys in the back. You get more room. But for these 2 losers, they are stuck doing this. They've got to go all the way here, and you've got to do one of these things and push this up and go like this. And come on, this is not a Pacifica. So for all the GLS owners out there, you'd like to know how much room you have. Well, if I show you with the seats up, this is exactly what I got. I got 15 inches right to here. So 15 inches to here, and then to the back of the second row, I have 44, and then to the back of the driver's seat, or probably center console, you have 80 inches. So 80 inches as its maximum length, and you have 41, I'm right in your way there, you have 40, almost 42 inches wide. So 42 wide, 80 deep. So now let's get in the third row. What does it feel like? Well, obviously this is fancy. So I'm 5'9" almost, and I would say that's not meant for me. It's designed probably for 5'5" or 5'4" and under. There's a lot of luxury amenities back here. I do have this pretty decent sized window. I do have a vent right in my face, which is perfect. So claustrophobia goes down. I have a nice big dual pane sunroof. Obviously I have the back end of it. It's nice and big. I won't feel claustrophobic. There's a nice LED light here. I also have 2 USB-Cs for me and 2 USB-Cs for my buddy. I do have this little thing here that I can put my water bottle, a really nice quality armrest. I have 3 increments of heated seats per side. I have this stitching. This feels very, very luxurious. Nothing to complain about back here, except for some of the mishaps with getting in and out. And when I jump in the EQS SUV, and I close the door, well, hey, it feels like a Mercedes-Benz German strong car, even though it's made in Alabama. Now, these screens some people don't like because they're not really recessed enough, and they really depend on the way the driver position is. Now, it folds all the way down, and then when I'm going up, me at 5'9", when I'm sitting back here, it feels good. It looks like I can see it's right in my eyesight. But if I am sitting with somebody that likes to slouch when they drive, well, it's just going to be facing down, and that could be problematic. But it has all the same MBUX software that the actual driver has, so it all feels sort of normal or natural when you're sitting back here if you're used to Mercedes-Benz product. As far as the seats go, again, very, very high quality leather. You have this illuminated seat belts. Even the center armrest now has its own removable screen where you can adjust the same sort of things as these guys do. I can push this, put it on, push this pops up, and voila. Now some people like this. I personally don't. I don't like having my own tablet that I can remove. I like when it's built into the car, just like, as an example, a Genesis product or the Genesis G90 we reviewed. It was built into the car, and I really like that piece. And the reason I say that is because we all own tablets in our house that suck. They last for like a year and we don't use them after the fact. And the fact that this needs to have a power source, you always have to put it in here. And kids are eventually going to break this. And not only that, is that this thing is motorized in power that it lifts up. Listen. This little piece in the next 10 years will break. And when it does, Samsung, we're coming after you. Now something interesting, this does have wireless charging in the rear armrest here. I can lift this up, I put the phone in, and I close it, and then it gets charged up. That is a nice touch. However, if there are 3 people in the back seat, there are only 2 USB-Cs down here, which is kind of odd. Yes, you have HDMI for the TVs back here, but you have 2 USB-Cs, which is strange considering in the back you have 4, 2 per side. So 4 in the back that has 2 people that can sit, 2 in the middle that 3 people sit. Whose math is wrong? You were expecting cup holders, which is what I was expecting too. But just like the C-Class, that is designed for a pen holder to sign deals, because that's what Mercedes-Benz wants you to do in the back seat of their vehicles, sign deals. They say it's an Easter egg. I think it's the dumbest thing ever. Fancy. Immersed in a magical experience. Typical Mercedes-Benz fashion, the ambient lighting dominates in here, but the quality, wow. So this is a 58-inch screen, and by 58 inches, look at this thing. So that's how they're marketing. They're marketing as 58 inches of screen space, but it's actually a 58-inch glass panel, and behind that you have different screens. There's 3 of them. You get about a 12-inch here, a 12-inch there, and a 17.7 or so 18 inches, but you have 56 inches of overall screen. And if you're not used to Mercedes-Benz, it could get a little bit difficult to use, but who cares? Look at this thing. They even have this white steering wheel that feels very, very expensive. Rolls-Royce-ish expensive. They do have paddle shifters, so some people will ask, why is there paddle shifters on something that's electric? There's no actual gearbox. Well, this is really just to adjust recuperation. How much recuperation do you want? Do you want it to be heavy, so as soon as you let go of the throttle, the car immediately brakes pretty significantly? Or do you want to have an auto or an automatic version where I set it and it determines the vehicle in front? When the vehicle in front brakes, this thing automatically brakes. Kind of like a cruise control, with the exception of using the brakes or the regeneration to pump power back into the batteries. They have 6 USB-Cs. There's 2 hiding underneath here. There are 2 under this center console piece here, and there are 2 hiding in the glove box, hiding in the glove box. So 6. 6 here, 2 in the back, 4 in the very back. That's a total of 12 USB-Cs. This also does have a wireless charging underneath here and 2 cup holders. There is one strange piece about this, and that is the touch component. Everything is touch. Even the passenger gets a touch screen. But down here where my arm is not touch. It's actually a push. Kind of old technology in something so futuristic. Look at this. The volume, I have to actually push down. And the other thing is that when I have my elbow here and then I put some weight down on it, it actually pushes this little thing down. So if you're not familiar with Mercedes-Benz infotainment, this is called the MBUX, and this is their latest version. Now we've done the C300, which also has a pretty similar system with the exception of having this EQ version. And because this thing has 5 different screens, you can share content. So in my case, I'm listening to Dipple's Revolution. I can pass this on to the back where Ian is sitting. And then there's a small little screen. Remember that was in...
Help.
Nothing. Now, in order to get rid of share content, I have to press the home button, and voila, again, I'm back to the main menu. Now, Mercedes is cool because you have little buttons underneath the main icons, which are quick buttons or fast buttons. So when I click on this Mercedes-Benz EQ, the big thing that comes up that most people will want to look at is this, the battery levels and how much you can do with the amount of battery power you have. So in our specific case, 55% gives you 255 kilometers. And as I was mentioning on the outside, the maximum DC current you can put in the car right now is 92 kilowatts. So you maybe want to drive it or drain the battery a little bit more until that number goes up to about 120 to 150. That way when you plug the car in, it fast charges quicker. Now you can choose different programs based on where you live. So in this specific case, it's on standard, but you can do home and work. And then next to it, you can decide whether you want to have eco charging to maximum to 80% and to, as opposed to a full 100. Now you can use your fingers and move it up and down just like the Tesla, but I usually just put it at 100 because this is not my car, it's a press car, and this thing will be to some poor owner with a broken battery. Now below that you have advanced settings. Why it's advanced, I have no idea, because socket flap open and closed should not be an advanced setting. It should be just up here where you can simply hit it and then opens up the flap automatically. Then you have your charging pause. That's basically when you can charge when electric rates are low. Next up, this is sort of unique. I've never seen this before. This is high voltage battery pre-temperature control. This might be because when you plug the car in, based on if the battery's cold or hot or if it just has a surge, it sort of has a safety factor in here. So it's nice that it has it. I don't know why you can have a choice to it, but voila, there it is. Now moving through the screens, I can show you navigation and how wide and big this is. I've picked Toronto as my end search result. Now I've seen in some reviews that you have this in a 3D format. I just can't seem to get it, but I can definitely zoom in and out, and I can move up and down really fast, and everything is really big, really clear. This is one of the best systems I've seen because it's just so wide and it's hard to miss where you're going. Next up is the usual phone, radio, media, and then of course my favorite is comfort, because that is where you have different massages and different workouts. It's pretty cool that Mercedes-Benz gives you a deep workout, a cushion workout, and a workout backrest. Now if you're sitting in the car for a long period of time, which is what you will be doing when you drive something this comfortable, you'll want to actually just be able to move in your seat. Now Mercedes was one of the first manufacturers to actually give you lumbar to move you. Audi did not do that, BMW did not do that, but Mercedes did. So when you're sitting in the car, if it does not have massage seats, the lumbar will also just move you up and down, back and forth to kind of move you around the seat. But because this is a full massage chair, it gives you way more depth. And what I just talked about is something called seat kinetics. Then you can adjust your lumbar, your side bolsters, heating settings, and then of course automatic seat positioning. Automatic seat positioning is pretty unique. I just set my height right here in centimeters or inches, and then it adjusts the seat for the perfect driving position as per Mercedes-Benz. Then you have ambient lighting. As I mentioned, there's 64 different types of colors, but it's not the fact that they have 64 colors, it's how they blend them all together that makes it magical. And that is something that is unique to Mercedes-Benz. Other brands have lots of colors. They just don't find the way to blend them all together like Club AMG does. Now there's two more things I want to touch on. The first one is your HVAC controls, but more specifically the air coming in the car and the air you're breathing in the vehicle. Now this is not silver, but the car is blue. It is silver here. That is sort of a weak point. I think this should be the same color of the car you're driving, but it does tell you your exterior parts per million, your interior parts per million, and all the different things it's trying to do. And my favorite, fragrance. Now you have to have a fragrance vial in there for it to work. I don't know why this doesn't have it. It should be standard. It should give it to you when you spend this kind of money and not just ionization. Surprise, surprise, passenger. When you are driving, you have your own screen, but somebody has to physically sit in the seat, otherwise the screen does not work. Now I press the on button, get the power on, and voila, I have pretty much all the same menu options as I do in the other screens in the car. You have your main menus all here. And interestingly enough, when I'm playing with this or watching something, the driver has to keep his eyes on the road. When his eyes shift to this screen, it completely stops, which is so cool. The fact we're so far in technology where the car knows when the driver's not paying attention, this menu stops. But again, same sort of deal. It gives you all the same menu options that the MBU UX does on every other screen in the car. So you have $185,000 Canadian and you want to spend it on an SUV. This is one of your options, but so is the Range Rover and so is the Escalade V. What are you going to buy? What are you going to buy? Just knowing that there's a more expensive version of this thing coming in the Maybach, and knowing the Maybach we reviewed was almost 300 grand. This thing is probably going to be close to that in the Maybach version. I can't wait to get my hands on one just to know the difference of money spent. It's going to be as comfortable. It's going to be as fancy. The light's going to be as crazy. The seats are probably going to be a different color, and they're going to have flutes. They're going to have a saxophone. But whatever it has, we're going to be interested to know what the differences are. So, hope you guys like this video. As always, thank you for subscribing, giving us support, and all the love. This is a unique video because it's shot at night. We've never done one of these night ones before. So if you did like it, let us know in the comments below. And as always, we'll see you on the next one.